Welcome to Beautifully Rebellious, a podcast about going against the grain, creating your own rules, and living your most authentic life. I'm your host, Erin Burr, and I am so excited to welcome you to my show. Let's dive right in. Hello guys, what's up? Welcome back to the podcast. I don't know if you can hear, but I am like a little congested, I guess. That's probably the right word. Stuffed up? Yeah. I don't know what it is, honestly. It's like it feels like allergies in a way, but I checked and there's not really that much of a pollen count, like a little bit from the trees, and I don't think I'm that sensitive to it. Like in the recent past, like I've really been not bothered at all by allergies, but like when I was a teenager and a kid, oh, my allergies were so bad, like horrible. And especially when I was a kid, like it was bad. It was really bad. So fingers crossed we're not moving backwards. I kind of just think it's like a cold. I don't really know why I have a cold, but I am around a million different type of sicknesses all the time. But I am believing that it is leaving my body. I've been taking this medicine. What is this called? Glutathione, something like that. It's this pill that you can get from Bulletproof, and Gabriel takes it all the time, and I took it before for something else, and I call it like the magic pill. It like knocks everything out so fast, like helps do something to your body. It says it's an antioxidant and detox support, but it, like on a scientific level, it does something to your body. I know that's so helpful. Like on a cellular level, it does something good. So I'm taking some vitamin D3, and I just took some vitamin C and zinc. And I personally also take iron when I start to feel like physically low, because I have a past history of low ferritin, so low iron stores. And so when I start to feel like a certain like sickness coming on or something like that, I just like to also take that to help support my body. Not recommending that you do that, because iron and zinc, but iron is definitely like a a mineral that you don't really need to take when your doctor doesn't tell you to. But yeah. Anyways, that is a long intro to say I sound like this today, and I was going to not record a podcast simply because I actually also was taking a nap. But then I got up, did a few things, and I was like, just record the podcast, because you're not going to want to do it tomorrow, so just do it today. You have the energy, do it. So it's not like I'm like super like lethargic or anything at all. Like I'm a little tired, but I'm just like tired from the life, from life. I'm tired of running around doing things, but I'm not like draining. It's just congested a little bit and sneezing here and there. That's why I was like, I don't think there's allergies. Hi, Theodore, drinking your water so rudely. But anyways, that was a lot of information. Thanks for listening to that. Let's just sit and listen to Theo drink his water. He like seriously won't stop. This is like, what, a minute of drinking water? Can you stop, dog? Seriously. Hella rude. He's doing it simply because I'm on this podcast, too. Like, literally, this time before I even said anything, he, like, saw me put on the stuff, the headphones, and take out the microphone. And he walked up to me like, oh, we're doing this. And then he walked away and got a toy. So rude. He's still drinking water. Stop drinking water. You don't even need it. Go. I should have not filled it up. Go. Ridiculous. Yeah, I said it. You're ridiculous. Go. Get out of here. Be gone. Go. He's staring at me with sad eyes. Oh my gosh. Let's refocus. I posted a little something on my Instagram the other day, and it was reposting this Instagram story that this other man had made. And honestly, this guy, like, I should just look him up. I'm going to look him up right this second, because I always give you guys half details. But this guy, I stumbled across his stories, and I was like, dude, like, why are you spitting so much wisdom? How do I find him? Maybe he's like in who I'm following. I kind of remember some of his there you go. Okay, his Instagram is DG Mindset. His name is Derek Grant. And this man, it says he's a coach. He's I think he's like coach is such a generic term. I think he's like a motivational person. Former pro athlete, according to him, which go figure, because it's like something about the pro athletes and their mindsets. I'm just like, yeah, we're on this. But he puts a lot of stories, no, what are they called? Reels up about different things, like someone asked him a question, and this one was said what to do when feeling anxious. And long story short, if I can do such a thing, he basically was saying, like, if you were to ask him that question, he's saying that you need to come into the present. He says it in a much better way than I'm saying it, and I'm summarizing his reel, but he says you're in the future right now, and that's why you're anxious. And I've said this before, where there's always exceptions to everything. I feel like we have to put that disclaimer out for everything these days. There's always an exception, and there's extreme cases and blah, blah, blah. But in general, like when you're in a mode of depression, you're not like, clinically depressed or anything like that. But when you're in a depressed time of your life, you're feeling depressed, you're feeling down, you're caught up in the past. And when you are anxious, you're caught up in the future. And so that's why we need to reside in the present, because then we're not feeling any of those two emotions. And I reposted it and posted like, oh, I should talk about this on my podcast, because I feel like and I've said this before too, like I am learning this lesson of let go and go with the flow. Let go, let flow, something like that, whatever. I've said that before in a recent episode, but it is seriously the lesson that I am learning let's just say this year, because it's March, and I feel like I've been learning it for this whole 2023. I feel like, oh man, if anyone can remember when I talked about, your word, I think I put it on my Instagram too. I feel like flow or something like that was my word. I'm not really sure, but it is my lesson of 2023, learning to go with the flow. And I don't mean that in just the way like we say to people, like, just go with the flow. It's no big deal, blah, blah, blah. When we're dealing with certain things, we're like, you're at work, you're like, just go with the flow, guys. It's cool. But I mean this like in like just as like a core principle of life. Learn to go with the flow and learn to not need to control, because when you're controlling, you're not letting anything flow. You're literally dictating how things are going. And like I'm kind of picturing right now like a stream, and a stream just flows. But if I was to put rocks and barriers, directing the water in places, I'm controlling where things are flowing. And so I'm not just letting it flow as it would have on its own if I didn't bother it. And that's kind of what I think of when I say let go and let flow. Let go of the need to control how things are going to happen and how the outcome looks, and all of those little details that we want to control, because that control gives us safety, it gives us security, it helps us feel stable. If we know what to expect, then we can't be blindsided, we can't be hurt, we can't experience pain, because we already knew it was coming. So we could dodge it, so we could prevent it, we could do something to keep us from feeling that. And that is definitely a way that I have operated so much in my life, just because of the way like I grew up. And that's not like a dig at my my mom or anything. It's just the way I grew up, and I took on responsibility at a young age. and I became hyper independent at a very young age and just handled things. And in order to make sure that, I knew what was going on, I would control the various aspects of my life. And so that definitely carried over into my adulthood, blah, blah, blah. And I definitely I've seen it in like almost every aspect of my life. In my marriage, there's probably moments, I can't pinpoint anything right now, but there was probably moments, especially because I felt like I was constantly on alert of trying to make sure that everyone around me was happy. And because making sure that everyone's happy is a way for me to make sure that I'm in a safe environment, which is controlling the environment instead of just letting things happen. Definitely when I had kids, definitely very controlling, to make sure, like they're safe. And I know like moms all go through that, especially first time moms. But there's only so much you can control when it comes to your children anyways. And even moving forward in relationships, this is when I've like really seen it. Maybe it's just because I've become much more aware of myself in the last few years, and I'm much more open now to my, I guess, flaws, shall we say. I don't really like the word flaws because I think obviously it has a negative connotation, and I don't think people should think, oh, I'm flawed. But maybe like, what's a better word for that? I don't know. I'm sure there's a better one and I just can't think of it right now. But I've become more aware of the other things that I do that I don't really like, and I think don't really benefit me, even though my egoic mind would tell me it is benefiting me, because it is saying, no, we're keeping you safe, we're keeping, life predictable, we're keeping, everything in a way that we know that you're not going to feel hurt, you're not going to feel pain, which isn't really true. Like I've said before on another podcast, it's like when you do that, when you let your ego do that, and it's like trying to predict things. Like, say you're in a relationship and it's trying to say, oh, well, he's probably going to do X, Y, Z, so be prepared for it. And so you're like hyper vigilant, you're hyper alert to see it. You're always looking for little signs, and basically preparing yourself for it. And you also mentally walk yourself through what that looks like if whatever XYZ does happen. And that's not really beneficial because you're putting yourself through the pain then. When you do it, you're putting yourself through the pain every single time you reimagine it. And then you're also attracting that type of experience to happen, because that's where your focus is going, and where your focus goes, energy flows, and where you give energy, those sorts of things attract back to you. So you're creating that, and then if and when it does happen, you're experiencing it again. So you didn't actually ever prevent your hurt and pain. You just re-inflicted it numerous times instead of just letting yourself experience the moments. And there probably could have been a lot of good moments in that time. And then if XYZ did end up happening, you experienced it one time. But yeah. So little lies our egoic mind tells us that it's doing it to help us, feel safe. And it believes that it is, but it's not really protecting us. It's trying to, but it's like a child trying to protect you. They can't see everything. They don't understand everything. So it's like they're trying, they're so innocent, so sweet, they're trying, but it's like, nah, kid, like you just don't get it. You're making it worse right now. That's kind of like how I see it. So let go, let flow. It just keeps coming back. And so I really wanted to talk about it today. And here I am, been talking about it for a hot minute now. And I just think it's something that we all could really benefit from just constantly hearing about also. I mean, if the universe is going to keep throwing it in my face, I know I'm not the only one who could benefit from hearing it again and again and again. But Yeah. And I mean, you guys all know, you've been following me, you know, I have been moving through different, like closing out a chapter of my life and moving into a new chapter throughout, throughout the last, throughout my life, throughout the last many years, but I'd say 2020 was the catalyst of changes really starting to happen. Like they slowly started to happen, I guess, in a way. It depends on your perspective of it. 2020 is when we left the church. 2020 is when my marriage was pretty much done. Like we knew it was done, but I wasn't in a place where I was ready to fully accept what that meant while also going through the complete change of Gabe losing his job at the church, our all of our income, like our full source of income. I think I had a job. I did have a job, but it was very low income. So basically, our main source of income gone. Just like it was so much thrown at me, literally all that came on me in a day, and then it was just like, and then like the next within the week or two, then like marriage stuff was thrown on it, and I was just like, I'm not in a place to deal with this. And also I was in a place of like hurt and betrayal, so it's like I'm not even in a place to accept hearing what you want because I just don't care, basically. Like you've screwed up so much, I don't care about your feelings at the moment. But and if this helps too, I always start out super emotional when I usually start out super emotional when something is presented to me. And then when I have time to digest it, I backtrack and come back and throw some logic in there. And I think a lot of people do that, a lot of women. And then I come back, throw some logic in there, and I'm like, oh yeah, this makes so much sense, blah, blah, blah. So if I come at you strictly with just logic, then there's a good chance later on I'm going to come back with some emotions. That doesn't happen often, but I have seen myself do it a couple of times, and I'm like, dang, like I'm really mature for handling that so well. And then later on, I have the emotions. So eventually, I'd like to be able to like mesh the two and be able to come at a situation with my emotions, but not being dictated by them, not reacting, not having my reactions being controlled by my emotions, but being able to be aware of my emotions and communicate them and use logic at the same time. There will be a day that happens. For now, I'm pretty much emotional, then logical later, and I'm aware of it. So my first step right now, I'm actually trying to, when I feel myself becoming in an emotional state, and it can happen for many different reasons. I've learned if I get really tired, I get very emotional. So I'm starting to realize that if I get into these states, I kind of just pull back from the world, and I have to go within and first address the emotions. What are my emotions telling me? What's going on? Why am I feeling this way? What is the need that I'm not having met that I am asking for, basically, to be met? Like the inner child, what is she asking for? And basically just, spewing emotions everywhere, trying to get something to land to fill that need. And it's not that I need somebody else to fill those needs. It's that I need to fulfill them myself, but I just need to sit down and recognize them. And I think when we're very unaware of ourselves and we don't take that time to sit back and ask ourselves, what is this emotion teaching me or telling me, and what need do I have that's not being met? If we're not in a place where we can ask ourselves that, then that's when we do seek outside sources to fulfill those needs. And it's like a spiral in a way, but not even necessarily like a spiral. It's like this back and forth kind of thing where it's like you run to a person to fulfill a need, then you're like, okay, cool, I feel all better, bye, and then you're good, and then you have a need again. And I'm not saying it's bad to have somebody in your life, or people, you have friends, anything, that do fulfill needs, like companionship, things like that. But it's also highly important that we're able to identify those needs for ourselves and then fulfill them for ourselves, because ultimately at the very end of the day, you have yourself and it's up to you to take care of yourself. Man, how did I get there? Oh, shoot. And I even have notes and oh, man. Well, whatever I was saying before, that was probably pretty good, and I could stop this and listen to what I was saying, and I'm very tempted to do that. Man, total, like, brain fart. I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to see. Okay. I went back, and I would have never re-landed on that. My goodness. I was saying about how I'm moving through new chapters in my life, and started off with way back in 2020. So fast forward, 2020 went down. It was such a year. We all know that. It was such a year for my personal life. It was such a year for the entire world. It was a year. 2021 is when Gabe and I officially just sat down and we're like, we shouldn't be married anymore. We decided we needed to be separated. Like, we were both, he was already there, and if you talk to him, he will tell you he was already there, and we probably were there many times before, but we finally both landed on the same page at the same time, and I was at a place where I was like, I can do this. Well, at least a part of me thought I could do this. And so we were like, we shouldn't be married anymore. And so we opted for the route of separation. We're technically still married. We didn't like do a legal separation. Didn't even realize that was a thing, even though he might have brought that up. But I didn't realize that it was like an actual legal thing. But whatever, that doesn't matter. And then we went through that. That was pretty much where we were. We were like, all right, our marriage is over. We are separated. It was like, it's just weird. It's like, just like in a split decision like that, we're like, yeah. And I think it's just because we were both on the same page. Like, we were in complete agreement that we're like, we're done here. And I mean, we weren't really doing so well beforehand. So it was more so just like, yeah, it is what it is. And that was 2021, then 2022. I'm just going by years, basically. Is pretty much when we announced it officially to everyone else that we were separated. Some people had known, but not a lot. And that was when we announced it to everyone else. And then that's when we kind of just started, well, since everyone knew, we were able to live a bit more like openly and freely. And yeah, and I think it's like, my point here is there's been, I guess, chapters to the chapter, sub-chapters can it be? And like each year is kind of like a little mini chapter to this whole thing. And it's like 2020, I, went through a lot of therapy and spiritual shadow work, things like that, and really just started my journey on learning who I am. And that continues until this very day, through this day. It will always happen. But that was like the jumping off point. And from there, it's like with each big thing that we happened through the years, I feel like a new part of me emerged. And when we came to the point where we decided, yeah, we need to end this marriage, there was a part of me that, like I said, that knew I could do this. I could do this thing on my own. There was a part of me that also believed that I couldn't really do it all by myself. And so hence, the way everything went. But then when we announced it to the world, I was like, all right, like it gave me another boost of confidence. And then I was the one who, pushed forward and actually was like, all right, we need to move forward and make this an official thing. And I was the one who pushed forward and, filed the divorce papers, blah, blah, blah. And now that I've actually told the person that I wanted to tell, I can tell you guys my divorce is officially final. We've received our email from the court saying it's final, case is closed, we're officially divorced. So I am officially a divorced woman, single, blah blah blah. Not saying like, hey, holler at me, just, that. But it was like on that same day, and I think it's interesting too, on that same, the day before technically was the full moon, I think. Full moon in Virgo or something. I can't really remember. It's also around the time like this whole thing about Saturn, blah, blah, blah. If you follow astrology, you would have heard about it. Or if you're just on Instagram, you probably would have heard about it. But Saturn moving into Pisces, which is like a really big deal. I guess it only moves signs every 3 years and blah, blah, blah. But I'm pretty sure the full moon was on Tuesday of last week. And then Wednesday is when I got the email saying my divorce is finalized. And I kid you not, like, I don't always think like much happens with the moons, but there is always something that happens with the moons with me. And I know, like, it's like, oh, but you're no astrology, how could you say that? It's just me. Like, I'm not affected. I don't feel the effects of everything. I don't feel the effects of all the Mercury retrogrades. I don't feel the effects of everything. But it's like sometimes with these moons, I really do feel them. And this one, I can't entirely remember, but I just remember it saying like, we're getting our lives in order. There will be shifts, blah, 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 things like that. And looking backwards, I like to look backwards and like compare astrology to my past because it's like confirmation, which is not exactly how you should use it, but whatever. I remember that day, like, there were some other things, but that day there was like another version of me that came online. And I didn't even know about like the divorce being finalized until that evening. I knew it was supposed to happen that day, but I didn't know it would officially be done. And then I didn't know it was officially done until later in that evening when I had gotten off work. So it was pretty late. But like that day, just through a series of events, I felt like a new version of me come online. And like, it was like, a version of me hanging out inside, but still. And like just another level of confidence setting in. And I don't know. I just find it so interesting how like there's these mini chapters within the chapters. And so the point of that was really, I'm officially divorced now, chapter closed, new chapter is definitely opened. And like with that leveling up, it felt like, like maybe even a new book. Like we just took that book, we tossed it aside, cool, done, put it on the shelf. And we opened up a new one, fresh, clean pages, and we're writing it right now in one of my journals. Hey, but that's what it feels like. Like I'm literally a fresh book, clean, crisp pages, empty, waiting for the story to be written. And this main character of this story is a lot more confident than the one from the past story. And this main character from this story is understanding like her value and understanding what she deserves. And she's standing up for herself a bit more. And I know like as the story develops, I'm going to become better and better at this stuff. And it's always a work in progress, but I can feel it already. And I'm excited for every chapter that comes in this story. But at the very end of it, it's like I have to carry that motto with me of let go and let flow, because as much as I want to control how things will be, I cannot. I can't say, like, I can dream, and yes, I set goals and I have visions for my life and goals, and I set them and I do work towards them, but I cannot say this is where I'm going to live, and this is how much money I'm going to make, and this is how I'm going to make it, and this is who I want to spend my time with, and blah, 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 things like that, because I can't control those things. And all I can do is put the desire out there, like, oh, I'd like this much, or I'd, whatever, but I can't control it, and I have to accept whatever happens. And at the same time, though, I think something I mentioned, at the same time, though, I can take action towards my goals and towards my vision. So I like to differentiate the action versus control, because it's like in control, it's like it has to be this way. I have to, I don't know. I can't think of something right now. Like, I have to have this job and I have to work my way up the ladder to this level and then to this one and then to this title. And then that way I have to make this many, dollars so that I can have this place to live at. And it's like, I, I can't control that. And that's the controlling nature. But if I just took action and just said, you know what? I want to live in the city. And that just means I need to make some more money. And I want to have my own place. And blah, blah, blah. I know like the big main vision. And so what I can do is take action towards that. I can show up to my job. I can pick up extra shifts. I can work hard and show that I'm a valuable employee. Things like that, I can, be open to other avenues of how to make income. I can, be open to where I'm going to live. Maybe it's not necessarily in the heart of the city. Maybe it's to the side of the city. Maybe it's just outside the city, but it's close to the city. Things like that. I'm open to various possibilities and I have a vision for the outcome, but I'm adaptable to what the outcome is, knowing that the very best outcome for me will happen ultimately, as long as I'm not trying to control it and maybe even blocking myself from getting that best outcome by controlling. Yeah, that was a wonderful way of summarizing this last however much time I just spent talking. But yeah, I basically, what is that thing? And you're supposed to put it at the top of your post. TDTL. I don't know, whatever the hell it is. I'm going to summarize it at the end. Basically, the whole summary of this is let go, let flow. Don't try to control things. Let the universe work things out for you, but still take action because the universe has your back. Hello, Gabby Bernstein. The universe has your back. It is working for your ultimate good. It's working to bring the best things to you and for you. And if you're trying to control the outcome all the time, you're blocking yourself from those blessings. So get out of your own way and let things flow. But still take action because you can't be lazy and expect something to happen. But yeah. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. Quick little insert. Don't forget that I do have the Queendom Affirmation deck available for pre-sales right now on my website, erinbird.com. Right now, I'm thinking about only purchasing the ones that are pre-sold. So please jump on there and buy your deck if you want to get one. I will be closing pre-sales and then I'll be placing the order, and then as soon as they arrive I'll ship them out to you guys with some extra little goodies. So jump on that. And also there's some other old merch available on the website. You can have a look at that. It may or may not be on sale anymore. I cannot remember. Old merch, not bad merch, just, my original collections. And then again on Amazon, the links for all these things are in the show notes. But on Amazon, you can get my personal journals, the ones that I create, the ones that I use, the ones that I love. They're very affordable, really great. They're great for, journaling. There's also a daily planner, and they're also good for like work or school, whatever you're doing. I used one at work to take down my notes for the various things that I need to remember because we do so much and there's so many steps to so many different possibilities that it just helps to have that notebook. And I love it because it fits so easily in my bag and I take it back and forth and it doesn't take up a lot of space on my desk. So it's never in the way, but it's there and it looks good. So I feel good about it. And it has a nice inspirational message on it. So I'm like, hell yeah, I'm doing big things. I'm pretty sure that's what mine says. So go on to Amazon and pick those up if you want. Again, they're super affordable, like $8 for a journal. So affordable because they cost way more if you were to go to the store. And they're really great. Like, I love them. They're the perfect size. So yeah, that is all for today, guys. I'll catch you next week when I bring in the next Zodiac sign podcast. So excited. It's Aries. I'm really excited for Aries because my daughter is a double Aries. She's an Aries sun, Aries moon. So we got some hardcore Aries energy in her. And I also have an Aries midheaven. And North Node. So I've also got some strong Aries energy in my chart, and I just think Aries are pretty cool. So really excited about that one, bringing that up next week. And I got to sneeze, so I'm going to go. Talk to you later, guys. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast today, guys. If you could go ahead and leave a review on whatever platform you listen to this podcast on, that would be so appreciated. And then go ahead and share the episode that you listened to today or the whole podcast to someone that you think would find the content that I share here valuable for their life. And the more we share it, the more people we can reach. So let's do this together, guys.